Welcome to Daddy's Podcast.
This is the Redefining Plastics Podcast. Welcome to the Redefining Plastics Podcast. My name's Justin Riney. Sam's off today. She's got other things going on, out saving the world, changing recycling as we know it. So we're excited for her. But today I've got an interesting one. Erin Hass from the Plastics Industry Association. You and I have done quite a bit of work over the last, we'll call it 6 to 7 months, and wanted to bring the audience your perspective on some things that are going on, and then talk a little bit about advocacy, which is your background, and why you're in plastics and all that good stuff. So Erin, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Justin, great to be here.
Yeah. And is this the first podcast for you? Or have you done a couple of these?
Done a few, actually.
All right. Well, good.
Sport related ones, actually, for New England sports teams. Mm-hmm.
So now I got to know more about that.
Okay. Oh, it's another show.
Yeah. Okay. So is that like it's something you don't want to publicize?
Well, it was just like years ago, right?
Okay.
You feel like all that is outdated already.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I think, so you and I have gotten to know each other from working on the Polystyrene Recycling Alliance,
Mm-hmm.
and you are supporting that endeavor
Mm-hmm.
From the Plastics Industry Association, which is where our organization, PSRA, is housed.
Correct.
And you've been doing a lot of supportive work for us. And I've been we have a blast every time we talk. So I figured, why the heck not bring you on the show and we can talk about what you're doing and why you're there. So why don't we start with, who are you and what the hell are you doing in plastics?
Oh, that's a great question. Thanks, Justin. Again, Erin Hass, Plastics Industry Association. I'm based here in Washington. And so I sit under the vertical of government affairs. And so I run 3 sub-purpose groups at plastics. And one of those groups is the Polystyrene Recycling Alliance. What we try to do is, you want to be the best you can as providing government affairs to your members. But sometimes you need these small subgroups to kind of focus in on a few issues that seem relevant and prevalent in the legislatures at the state level and at the federal level.
Yeah.
So, and it's fun thus far. I mean, when you say why plastics, I'm willing to take on like really large challenges, and I'm not afraid. I've worked in politics my entire career. It's almost, I turned 50 a couple of weeks ago. And, we have a large target on our back. So you need people,
Yep.
I would say, like me, who are battle tested, and have had some big wins in state houses, but some losses too. And you learn from both. Look, plastic is everywhere. And if lawmakers don't understand that, that is our job to explain to them that, the value chains all across. Our plan is to recycle, right? And I was just in NCSL last week in Boston. And
What NCSL?
National Conference of State Legislatures.
All right.
It's over like 6,000 lawmakers that attend this.
That sounds miserable.
It's-
One-on-one time with state lawmakers can be difficult.
Yeah.
I can imagine a huge group of them, specifically state lawmakers, because they all feel like they're a little bigger than they actually are.
A little bit. Their level of education with these issues is very limited. And that's our job, is not only just to advocate, but to educate. And so hopefully when I met with a bunch last week, setting up some facility tours for our members is a great value add. So lawmakers can see recycling, manufacturing, all in one-stop shopping. That's a great deliverable.
I think the phrase you just used on the educate piece, because I think when people look at somebody like in your role, say that is a dirty plastics lobbyist. And I've always responded back, because I'm not a registered lobbyist, but I do a lot of lobbying through actual registered lobbyists. So I go with them and I speak to stakeholders. 90% of the time, I'm just educating. There's nothing being exchanged. Nobody's getting any free dinners or anything like that. It's literally a meeting in their office where we talk about what matters to us. And I guarantee you, every NGO that is anti-plastics is doing the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
And they've got a lot more people than we do.
Well, Everyone, I mean, the First Amendment is clear. Like you can go and advocate for you, for a company, for a nonprofit, for yourself. And
Anybody can do that.
that's what makes this country great.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, starting my career on Capitol Hill when I used to answer phones when I was 21 years old for a U.S. senator, everyone and their brother came in and called, and, from the super left to the super right. And that's what makes this country great. And
It really does.
I think, as, I've gotten older and wiser is, where can we come together? Where can we compromise? And I would tell you that in 2025, it's a lot harder to get some of the environmental groups to listen. And it's unfortunate, and I find that to be very frustrating. When I get called out from the Washington Post to talk about some of my other work at Plastics, I offer them to come outside of Richmond, Virginia with me and see a plastic bag facility. American jobs, tax base, good paying jobs.
You're talking plastic bag recycling.
Yeah, just a quick way. They will never take me up on that. Whereas when I was at NCSL bringing it back last week, Democrat and Republican lawmakers I chatted with from Virginia were more than happy to come. So we're going to try and get that set up this fall. I mean, these are the kinds of things that you want. You want an open dialogue. You can absolutely disagree, but don't be disagreeable. And be open. I mean, you might.
Isn't that the American way right now, though? Like
the cancel.
I'm on my side, you're on your side. There's no in between. I'm red, you're blue.
Yeah.
We can't coexist. It seems like that has become much more now. And so I don't know if the environmental NGOs have become more ardent or hardened in their position.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that there's a perception issue. If they move at all, their base will look at that and say, you've given up, rather than compromise, because compromise is a lost art in the U.S.
No, it definitely is. I think and I don't want to pigeonhole because, I would tell you that on all sides of all the aisles, people can be bullheaded. But I think if you come to it with an honest message with data, I like to always have data with me if at all times. In a past life, I used to travel with a Medicaid actuary to talk about
with an actual actuary
to talk about like the numbers in Medicaid, so people couldn't make up this isn't true, here it is. And I think that's really important for us as an industry, and I think that's something we need to develop going forward in 2026 are more real case studies with data and numbers next to things.
You want to explain to people what an actuary is real quick? Because I guarantee you there are going to be people on here that are going to be like, what is that?
Someone who's really, really, really smart with numbers.
Exactly.
Things that I would never be able to do.
And then they can usually pick out pieces of any kind of legislation or regulation where here's what we're talking about right now. Here's how that's impacted by
absolutely
this regulation. And it just makes it a hell of a lot easier. Because otherwise you're like, well, let me get back to you in about 3 weeks after I reread this 1,000-page bill.
Right.
And I'll find exactly where it is.
And I always try to have answers, right, when you're in those offices, but you can't be afraid to say, hey, we'll come back to you, because I never want to give out false information.
Yeah. So you were in electric cars before this.
Yep.
And you've done a couple other things.
Yep.
So do you mind talking about who and where you've been before this, or?
I would honestly, Justin, I would rather not say it. I mean,
Fair enough.
You can look me up on LinkedIn and you can see it. I will tell you that it was the drivetrain, the technology in this vehicle for the company that I did government affairs for, outstanding. What was really hard is the actual battery part. And this is, again, fighting with enviros. If you want to ban mining in America, there's only a few other places where we can mine.
China,
Australia, Congo, no go there. Philippines. If you want these minerals, there's got to be a place to go get them to supply the batteries. And that was a constant issue. And very frustrating, but really need to do that work. Prior to that, I worked for a very large family 501c3.
Okay.
I did state strategic campaigns in different states for that work. And that was dental delivery issues, which you want to talk about. My biggest opponent was the dental industrial complex.
It's insane.
Dentists are tough, awesome, difficult, and they give a lot of money, and people are innately scared of their dentist. So they were a tough adversary.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yep.
So when you tell people that you've worked with for a long time, I'm going to the Plastics Industry Association. What was the general response of your peer group?
Well, my friends were like, excellent. This is great news.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Yeah. That's the main reason why I'm in my job. People will say, like, why polystyrene advocacy
Sure.
and recycling? Because nobody else is doing it. And I feel like my skill set is ideal for putting up with some of the stuff that I'm going to run into. And I think you're very similar in that approach. It's like,
Yeah.
well, somebody's going to have to do it, and it might as well be me. And I love a challenge. You give me something, you tell me it's impossible, watch me. I'll figure it out.
I mean, it's really cool that our association, we represent the entire value chain, right? And I think that's really exciting. I mean, that's what America was built on. A lot of these companies are not giant. A lot of our member companies are not giant companies. They're a lot of like second, third, fourth generation manufacturers, molders, equipment manufacturers. It kind of runs processors. It runs the gamut. And I think that's what makes this country great. Are those and building relationships and trying to help them get to what they need, and they need that from us, right? Whether it's helping them with a congressional tour, in their district, if they're in Ohio or wherever. I think that's the kind of fun stuff that that we like to do. In addition to giving hopefully sage political advice.
Yeah. So you mentioned something there that I think is interesting. The small mom and pop converters. So packaging companies specifically.
Sure.
There are not as many small players as there used to be, but it used to be a lot of family owned, family run.
Yeah, you could probably give me a great history lesson in this.
Yeah. There's been a lot of consolidation.
Okay.
But, so this thing's going on in Geneva right now as we speak, the Global Plastics Treaty, which apparently doesn't look like it's going to end in any kind of agreement right now, based on everything that I'm reading and seeing. It's just a contentious mess. But every single time I see any negative commentary on plastic lobbying at that event, it's always get the big oil, big petrochemical companies out of there. And then you got folks like the ACC and plastics that you work for, and you're not just talking about big oil, big petrochemical companies. You're talking about these mom and pop shops, these like real people that have real jobs. And that's what you're out there protecting. Not necessarily some CEO's bottom line. That's a part of it. But you guys you're out there protecting jobs, like real people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of lost in a lot of this discussion is we have to be against big oil. We have to be against this. But what about this family that's been running this injection molding company for 50 years?
Mm-hmm.
Are you against them too? Are those people that you're out to stop? I just think it gets lost in this whole debate.
It does.
It's like the actual human impact of it.
It's frustrating.
Yeah. And I think that's just America right now. It's so easy to marginalize. And this is both sides.
Absolutely.
Republican and Democrats will marginalize. Republicans, immigrants, they're marginalizing. Democrats, anybody who don't agree with them, they're going to marginalize. And that happens on both sides. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Instead of just saying, that's a human across the aisle that has a different opinion. How can I talk to that person and figure out how we can find common ground? And that's just dead.
No, I mean,
at this point.
No, and you make a good point. I mean, in every state house and in every state capitol, there's a bevy of stakeholders you can reach out to learn and educate before you file legislation that might put hundreds of humans out of work.
Without checking first? Yeah.
I will tell you, I won't say which one, but I was in California last summer dealing with a lawmaker, and I told her straight up, if you pass this, you're going to put 340 people out of work in X city in California. And she looked at me, honestly, Justin, straight away, I don't care. And
really,
I was really crestfallen only because I've worked for 6 members of Congress, a couple governors. I've done a lot of work in terms of like constituent service, right? Like for the people of X. And she didn't even care. And I said, but they're not going to be able to find another job. And she's like, no, they will. And like, you know,
That's a California attitude, though.
I was really, really thunderstruck by that. And it really frustrated me just as a person. I was like, they're not all wealthy attorneys like you are. Not everybody
Yeah.
can just go find another job. It's not that easy.
Especially since, like, if you look at plastics, let's just look at a plastic producer.
Sure.
Most of the people that are at a resin manufacturing facility
Mhm.
are either, like, people that are actually working the line are probably high school educated,
Sure.
and they make a lot of money. There's 0% chance if they lose those jobs that they're going to go somewhere else
Mhm.
and make the same kind of money anytime soon, just because they have
Frustrating.
a very specific skill set now that's been cultivated through the plastics industry. And you're putting these people out there and you're saying, hey, go find another job. I don't care. It's just, that's the kind of callousness that I think, and to me, and I don't know who you're even talking about, it sounds like that's an ambitious politician who feels like this is a stepping stone to
Well,
get to the
maybe.
next thing.
I just think it's not doing your due diligence and not
Exactly.
understanding, just being in your own myopic kind of world. And I think that's just frustrating. And I get it, like both sides do that. But if I'm bringing you and I'm trying to show you an example, why don't you educate yourself before you just go full throttle on this ban that would hurt so many folks? That kind of stuff makes me want to just, pack it all in and go be a lifeguard in York Beach, Maine.
Oh man, that would be boring. I couldn't do
Well,
it. My
seriously.
father-in-law
What?
sits and watches the pool at the local retirement community.
Oh, really? Where's she? At the Villages?
Yeah, here at what do you call it? There's this thing called Carolina Lakes, which is just around the corner, and it's a 55 and over community.
That sounds fancy.
And he loves to just sit and talk to these people at the pool, and they have these really in-depth political discussions. And then as soon as it becomes anywhere close to, hey, we're going to disagree, everything just shuts down.
Yeah.
Like no conversation anymore. And it's just a microcosm of what's going on right now. It's like, if you disagree with me, I can't talk to you. Like I was watching a podcast. I like watching and listening to a lot of different podcasts. There was a podcast of two Gen Z liberal girls. They're
Okay.
probably 19, 20. I don't know. I'm terrible with ages, I guess, and I'm not even close. And so they're talking about how they wanted to have a boat, but they couldn't have a boat because they couldn't go on a boat because the only people that own boats are conservatives.
Wow.
And they can't have any friends that are conservative. Like what? Why?
I don't know.
Why is that? Like you know how many people that I talk to that I disagree with? Most everybody in my circle disagrees with me on something. And that's great.
I
We
mean,
can have a debate and we can find a common ground.
Justin, I think a lot of it too is people aren't, when I say people, I think under 30 sometimes, I would just tell you in my experiences, they don't want to talk to other humans. They want to like do their work, keep their headphones on all day
Yeah.
and not engage. And
This Gen Z stare thing that everybody's talking about.
yeah. The stoicism that
Yeah.
my old career coach used to talk to me about being more stoic. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, it's not me. Yeah.
that's me.
I'm too passionate for that. And
Well,
I feel like you're in the same boat. Like I
if
can't just be there and unmoved. That
if I'm
just doesn't make sense.
Hey, for our members every day, which, I will do to the, as hard as I can, you have to show the passion because, I mean, you're going to get killed otherwise in terms of, your opponents. They're going to see right through that if you're just coming in like shaking your head. You got to come in with some passion and some good data behind you, and then hopefully you win the day.
Yeah. And most of the time, and I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without it seeming like I'm being just a complete dick. Most of the time when you're talking to legislators, in my experience,
Okay.
the only way you change hearts and minds is show how that directly impacts them,
Mhm.
about the personal of them, not their constituents, how it impacts them. And I think that egocentrism has really become innate within America specifically. It's me versus everyone.
Mhm.
My happiness matters more than anybody else. And that's why we don't see a lot of compromise anymore. What do you think about that?
I think it really depends on the member.
Okay.
Because some states are part-time legislatures and they don't make a real salary. Some states, they do. They make a real salary and they don't have to have another job. It really does just depend on the day too. But I do see what you're saying. There is a lot heavy of what about me than it didn't used to be about that. It used to be about representing the people that your
the
district.
people that sent you there.
I would tell you too that, raising money and, getting your brand, in quotes, out there is so much more important to folks now when it used to be about the team, whichever caucus you align with, it was more about us, not I. And so I think I have to say the fundraising definitely is a big chunk of that.
Money in politics.
You'll rise higher in your caucus if you can not only raise money for you, but raise money for your colleagues. And by doing that, sometimes you got to step outside, your normal way and, be a little bit more aggressive than you would normally be. And that's frustrating.
Yeah. And not only be more aggressive, but take positions that you don't necessarily believe in because you think it's going to help you with fundraising or get reelected.
We see a lot of 180s nowadays.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, 2 years ago, that's not what you said.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah, it's painful. Like luckily it's only about 50% of my job doing this kind of stuff. Like I get a break. I get to talk to customers and have a blast, get to do this, which also is way more fun for me. But that 50% of the time can be a real drag. It just, there's very little to get yourself excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I'm going to, like we were just talking when we jumped on, I'm going to Illinois so I could talk to legislators about why banning EPS food service packaging would be really bad for underprivileged communities in your state.
A great message.
And then it's just like, but I know they're not going to listen to anything I say. But turns out they actually did. But I think the main reason why they did is because labor got involved.
And that's a good one. And I think that's a lot of the times if you can, and this is what we do at Plastics, we build coalitions. If you can build a smart one to give folks political cover, you can be successful. We had, I worked really closely in Montana for the governor to veto the EPS ban there. I mean, there's places where you can make it work. But again, to your point, a couple minutes ago, you need to bring that back to, okay, well, tell me why this is bad for food security in underserved communities. And we have to tell that story. And that's by maybe working with different chambers of commerce, whether it's, the African-American community, the Hispanic community, like you said, labor, and talk about it. And I think when you can approach it sometimes with like an asymmetric view instead of just, okay, we're going to just talk to the business chambers and the real retailers, sometimes that doesn't get you enough what you need. You got to be thinking about different alliances you can form to be successful.
So yeah, I think kind of a little off topic, but kind of same.
Okay.
So Polystyrene Recycling Alliance. So when we started this, it was just 2 companies, a hope and a prayer that we can make a difference. So it's Amsty and then the company that I work for, I'm not going to mention once again, because we're keeping this separate. This has nothing to do with my day job.
Church and state. Yep.
Yeah. So those 2 companies came together and they said, we need to improve recycling for our products. And we actually need actionable results. It needs to not be just lip service. We actually have to invest money into this and make it better. And that's the only way we're going to get anywhere. And we're doing that. We just had our first project that was announced in Colorado with our friends at Circular Colorado. We're really excited about that. Got 3 or 4 other projects in the hopper. But I think the main point with all of this is we have to show it.
Yes.
Like you mentioned earlier about taking the actuary with you to like solve and show
all for X,
where it is in there. I think we got to do more of that. I think Plastics is doing a good job with the recycling is real. We talked a little bit about, hey, maybe we need to find a way to get that message out of just LinkedIn
Hmm.
And to the more common, like consumer, I don't know how to do that. I'm not a marketer, but I think that's a value that we could figure out how to do. But there's a lot of stuff that plastics is doing to solve for problems. Right now, there are a couple problems. Big one, people don't believe that recycling works. So recycling is real is actually showing the recycling process. I've got an idea,
Okay.
and I'm going to give this away. Anybody wants to use it, because I was going to do it this year and now travel restrictions, so I'm not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
Go to a MRF,
Okay.
film the material being collected, watch it get separated, go to the bale, watch that bale,
Being
follow that bale to the perf, watch that made back into a pellet,
Yep.
follow that pellet all the way back to where they're making it into products, and then right back around again.
totally show the true circular
Yeah,
conversation.
show what happened.
And that's, could we air tag it and do it ourselves?
I wouldn't air tag it, because then it's going to get.
What's
It's the same problem with the CBS news folks that put an air tag in with the plastic packaging at Starbucks to prove it didn't go anywhere. It's like, yeah, you just put a major contaminant in there that has a battery that will catch on fire. That is a horrible idea.
I think a lot
Please don't do that.
I think a lot to your point. I think with with EPS and PS, it was a lot of B2B in the last, a lot of business to business reporting their great recycling rates, but the human, honestly, it's not. And I would tell you this, just growing up the way I did, I grew up in a very environmentally conscious city in New Hampshire, and I wouldn't put recycling on the top 10 of worries or issues so it doesn't seem to, it's not an everyday, everyone's kind of, in their brain of their to-do list of the day. It doesn't rise to that. And I think that's part of the problem with the education of it.
Yeah.
It's got to come from other sources, almost like a consumer advocacy campaign.
Yeah.
We our Flexible Film Recycling Alliance here at Plastics has this great directory where you can put in a zip code and it can tell you where you can drop off plastic film. And it's things like that that can help consumers, but they need to want to help themselves and help their community. And not
I
every
don't want to be involved and
right,
actually
and
do
not
it.
and not every community is the same, right? And I think that's some of the problems we always see in America is what happens in Nebraska is different than what happens in Florida when it
Yeah.
comes to curbside recycling, drop off ability, and those are
The
just
drop off thing too, because I'm a huge proponent of drop off.
sure, me too.
I think that the U.S. recycling system broke as soon as we made it into a single stream curbside collection. I think it costs too much money, too much contamination. People don't know what to put in there. It's really confusing.
I would
If
agree.
you look at Spain, you got different bins for each material.
Right.
That's asking a lot of consumers, but nobody seems to be complaining in Spain.
They
They're doing it.
They follow the directions.
Exactly.
But
They actually are educating.
correct.
That's the difference. We
Well-
don't do that here.
It's a dual track. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the whole idea of we need to make it easy for consumers, you know what? This whole life is really freaking easy in America compared to some other places.
Yes, we're very lucky. We are.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people that really struggle here. There's still food insecurity. There's still a lot of that kind of stuff. I get it. But when it comes to recycling and waste, other countries have this figured out way more than we do. And then all we do is say, well, if it's not one of these two things that are really easy to separate out of this single stream, then just ban it. And let's move on and just make everything that. But then obviously you're going to have unintended consequences.
100%.
Okay, you just made it more heavy. And now you're going to use more plastic. And if somebody doesn't recycle it, you've just created a bigger problem.
It's going to the landfill.
Exactly. And that's the main reason why I'm fighting and we're fighting
Mhm.
with polystyrene. Because if you move away from polystyrene to something else, it's going to get heavier. And that just means more plastic. So even if you're not recycling polystyrene, which people are, let's be clear, you're going to increase waste to a landfill. And then there was that study, the first 5.2 or the 5.1
One. Okay.
Geneva, the I think it was UC Santa Barbara and the Benioff Ocean Conservancy did a tool online. It was an AI tool
Oh, yeah?
where you could click on the different policy levers and what would impact global plastic waste the most. You know what happened when you clicked on ban polystyrene?
No.
Absolutely nothing.
Oh, no. Page error.
No, it just said like it moved by like 10 metric tons annually. That's what we're all fighting for. We're spending all this time, money, and effort to do something that will actually not impact anything. Just a complete waste of time. But people feel like it's a big win for them.
Mhm.
And it becomes a stake in the ground. Low-hanging fruit. Polystyrene seems to be that focus, that in PVC right now. And then everybody else is quick to say, okay, that's fine. Because the other folks are going to pick up more volume. So they're not going to fight it.
Mhm.
It's good for their bottom line, but it's not the right thing to do. And that's where I get really frustrated, which is why I feel like we have to show that this works.
And
even if it doesn't make a huge impact one way or the other.
I think with PSRA, with the Polystyrene Recycling Alliance, I think it's great to bring together, consumer brands, recyclers, if you can bring, get some haulers. I think it's important that we do try to work together in this. We're trying to bring all those stakeholders together to show, and to your point earlier, to show almost like a case study, if we can, to storyboard.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. This is in city X. We're going to work with the city of X to have drop-off sites. And then we're going to densify these materials, and then we're going to see what happens next. It's not going to go to a landfill. It's going to be diverted into something helpful. And I think I feel like that's a great story to tell.
Yeah. And we need more of those stories. And that's why everybody I talk to, if they're involved in polystyrene at all, we need you. We need you to sign up. We need you to help, because obviously we're under a lot of undue pressure, in my opinion, and we will continue to be under that same undue pressure until we can prove that polystyrene recycling is happening. And you mentioned earlier the B2B side. So in recycling parlance, that's ICI, so industrial, commercial, institutional.
Got it.
So all that B2B stuff is material. So EPS, for example, that's collected at a distribution center, densified there, and then sold. Because then that is a very clean stream of material that can go right back into EPS, or it can go into picture frames and go into a bunch of different things. There's a lot of that happens in the US, but nobody gives credit for it because it's not going through the broken curbside system.
Right.
And we don't necessarily want to be a part. Like, we would love to be a part of the curbside solution, but polystyrene is such a small part of the packaging stream that makes it very difficult to collect for it. And so the drop-off works great. Like, there's the foam cycle, the Foamosaurus Rex here in the Charlotte area, where you can take your foam, if you're in the public, and drop it off.
Anyone
can.
can.
They're going to densify it. Yeah, anybody, even if you don't live in Charlotte. Like, I live in South Carolina. I drive up there and drop off my stuff.
No, that's
'Cause
great.
they're not checking IDs. They're just like, hey, because they can sell it and they're making money.
that is the American way.
Yeah.
Let's not waste, and then maybe we can make some money off it.
Like, all this time that we're spending to solve for this single stream, like, how do we make that better? Well, how about we try something that actually works in a major way? Like, we got to separate these things. The path of least resistance is not necessarily the right path. And that's the path that we've taken as a society, that it's this whole idea of we need things to be convenient. That's how we got into this problem in the first place. We wanted food on the go. So we got a bunch of packaging from food service, quick service restaurants. You've got packaging taking food to and from work and school. All this stuff didn't exist in the 40s. It does now, because people it needs to be convenient. You have to do things on the go. So we caused the problem by changing how we operate. So you can get pissed at that. I completely agree that consumerism is out of control, and you can be pissed off at that all you want. But banning plastics doesn't solve the problem. The
No.
problem is what we do and how we consume.
I have this conversation a lot with my friends, who are a little more left leaning. And I said, fine, if you want to ban it, then you need to act that out in your daily life as well.
Yeah.
You need to stop using plastic then. Good
Yeah.
luck. Good luck with your father and that glass stint they're going to put in his heart instead of a plastic stint. Good luck.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not being
you're dead on.
I'm not being salty. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It does save lives and it does create jobs, and it's here. And this is everything we have talked about since COVID. We rely on China. We rely on so many other outside factors in America for everyday commerce. Where did that get us during COVID? Every supply chain was completely a mess. I would submit to you still it is because we're not self-sufficient here. We need to get back to that. And by banning products is not the way to do it.
No. And Plastics Industry Association obviously is against bans of all sorts for plastic products, as am I. Even if it was going to benefit my day job, I think it's the wrong thing to do. You limit choice. Let the market handle that.
Mm-hmm.
If people don't want plastic packaging, all right, that's fine. That's their choice. That's less demand. That's less plastic production. Because people keep talking about, hey, plastics are growing. Look at this exponential growth. But if you look at, we're growing at the same rate as every other industry. We're just growing with economic growth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still a very small part of the overall pie. Now, some people may say that's too much. Okay, that's your opinion. That's fine. Don't buy our products.
Well, yeah.
That's how you make change. But then some people will say, well, you're captive. If you go to the grocery store, you have to do that. There's farmer markets. There's a bunch of other stuff that you can do. You don't have to buy anything in plastic. You can go out of your way and not do it. If that's really what you believe, go do it.
Hell yeah.
I just get so frustrated with people because they want it both ways.
Yeah, and that is...
They want a virtue signal more than they actually want to do things. Because there was a study, and we'll get back to actually talking about Plastics Industry Association and all the stuff that I know you're going to want to talk about because it's stuff you're passionate about. But this is stuff that I'm pissed off about right now.
Let's hear it.
So there's a study out there that says, I think it was 70+ % of people say that they use sustainability as a major factor in any decision that they're making when they're purchasing. Okay.
That seems extremely high.
Exactly. Because it's not true.
I'm just going to say that.
Because people want to sound like they care. I think that's a big thing. There's a lot of people that want a virtue signal and be like, I really care about the environment. Sustainability really matters. But when it comes down to it, am I going to take the time to separate out my recyclables, or am I just going to dump all this stuff real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to take the time to drive my EPS to 20 minutes down to the collection center? No. I'm just going to throw it in the trash. It's like that. That is America right now. And it really drives me insane because it's like, if the amount of people that virtue signal actually cared, all this stuff would be resolved. I truly believe that. Because if enough people put enough pressure with their money and say, we're not going to give you another $1 until you solve this, you know how quickly things will get done around here?
There might be a slight sea change. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, I hate it, but the brands are right in this. Like CPGs are right in the middle of this thing. And I know you got to be a little careful with that because of who you work for, but I can say that because that's my opinion.
Again, if people would just listen and be amenable to hearing another take on something, I think we'd have less of these complete carte blanche bans.
Yeah.
The problem is it's just so easy to get a template piece of legislation from an environmental group and say, you know what? They did this in California. We can do it here in XYZ state too. bam, they
It
file it.
didn't work in California.
They
It worked
file
here.
it, right? They file it, and then all these problems that they didn't anticipate come forward because they didn't meet with any stakeholders in their state or even
Yeah.
their district to understand what they're doing. And it's really as simple as that.
It's really important for everybody to work together. And you have to understand the needs of all stakeholders and the entire value chain. I could not agree more with that. Because like if you look at California SB 54,
Oof.
perfect example. You got to have a 30% recycle rate on the covered material category.
Correct.
So what that means is if you're making a PET clamshell, PET thermoforms have to have a 30% recycle rate, which they do not have.
I was going to say that's really
PET water bottles do in the
Mhm.
state of California. So everybody then assumes, well, if my product is made out of PET and has a 30% recycle rate in California, then I'm fine. No, you're not. With the way that the law is written, you have to prove that your covered material category has a 30% recycle rate. So in essence, the way it's written, the only things that are allowed in the state of California based on data that I've seen, aluminum cans, OCC, so any kind of old corrugated container,
okay.
water bottles, EPS transport packaging. That's it. Glass is not recycled at 30% in California.
No, I don't think anywhere, is it?
No, not even close.
Not even close to that. Okay.
You've banned glass in the state of California if you truly follow the letter of that law. It's insane because nobody actually asked the question, what are the true recycle rates of these covered material categories? They just said, well, PET is recyclable. Yeah, all plastics are recyclable. Question is it being recycled?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, with the way that the system is set up and everything is single stream, it's not all getting recycled.
No.
Because it gets contaminated and you lose. It's just the whole system is broken.
Well, and just to bring it one step further is I feel badly as one, who has worked in almost I've kind of been a Swiss Army knife of political jobs in my life. And so I feel badly for the folks in the regulatory spaces that have to try to implement this.
Yes.
I think a lot of times lawmakers in some of those states will just do this without even speaking with them. Like, hey, is this within the realm of possibility if we mandate this, minimum recycled content? If we do this, if this is a cover, I don't think there's a lot of chatter before these things are filed.
Yeah.
These poor little regulatory folks, that the state agencies are just trying to do their job, but they don't have the tools in their toolbox to do it.
Yeah. Like if you look at Cal Recycle with the
Doing
most
yoga.
recent rulemaking that
Yeah.
they put out there, the draft rulemaking where they had the call out for food contact material being exempted. There's a good reason why they did that because there's not enough food contact PCR out there to make anything 30% recycled content.
It won't work.
Bottles.
Yeah. And I said, I think to someone at Cal Recycle once, like, do you want your, your chicken wrapped in parchment paper? That's not
Yeah.
going to last 21 to 28 days in a
And
grocery.
you sure as hell don't want any of the PFAS coated paper.
No.
That's illegal in your state.
So, I mean, again, there's no like pre-work done on this stuff. It's just
No.
like emotion reaction. Let's just ban it. And it's not going to get the job
Yeah.
done.
It's definitely not. It's just going to cause chaos, which is exactly what's going on right now. And then you see people look at that and they're like, oh, SB 54 passed. That's a really aggressive law. We should make our own law that's similar. New York tried to do their EPR, which was SB 54 on steroids, which would have been worse. It did fail, thank God, because the way that thing was written was going to be 10 times worse than SB 54. And SB 54 is not going to be successfully implemented. It can't be in the way that it's written. It has to be completely redone to make it reality. It has to have a reality check. So something else that popped into my brain based on this discussion. So the brands in 2021, 2022, even before that, started saying, we're going to have 25% recycled content by 2025. Not a single one of them hit that. And it's because if you looked at the entirety of PCR material that was available in the market that was food contact approved, Not one of those CPG companies could have hit that target. If they bought 100% of all the PCR that was available, they still wouldn't have hit that target. And that's another thing. It's like, if you're going to make commitments, you should probably understand what's possible before you make a commitment. It makes no sense the way that we do things. It's all for show.
It is a lot for show. And I will say, like, there's always a huge gap between like technology and life and commerce to your current lawmaker. A lot of them have been in those seats that they hold at whatever state house for so long. They haven't worked. They don't know what's out there in the world these days. Sometimes it's hard for them, I will say, because, they think they're doing the right thing, but yet
they're well-intentioned. I will give them that.
They don't have the modern like experience sometimes to speak to some of those issues.
Because plastics and recycling is complicated. I've been in this thing for 12 plus years.
12 years, huh?
I still learn things every day that I didn't know before when it comes to recycling. It is complicated. And then you're asking these lawmakers to make a recycling a bill, because I personally think EPR is fine if it's done right. I think it's actually not a bad thing. I think you're solving for the wrong problem.
It's a great thing if people can have equal voice at the table to
Exactly.
put it correctly.
Exactly. Now, I think you got to solve the end market first before you implement, hey, we're going to increase collection, because you got to get somebody that's going to commit to buying it. So you have to have some sort of a PCR inclusion. It has to be stair-step to match reality, but brands are going to have to buy it. And if brands don't buy it, why collect more? That's just adding carbon to the chain when it ends up in a landfill. So you got to figure that out. You got to figure out, if we collect more of it and it's there, company A, B, and C, are you going to buy it?
Right. I would have loved to have been in the plastic space when Oregon's was passed EPR, because, the big brands are getting hit with these huge bills.
Yeah.
But like, where were they on the comment period? Were they able to talk about like how this would affect? I mean, are they going to are certain brands not going to ship into Oregon now because
I wouldn't.
of definitions and what they have to pay?
I'm hearing about $1 million bills, which would more than double your packaging cost. Like, why? Like, I understand we want to recycle more, but what are we gold plating the machine? Like, what the hell are we doing here? We don't need to make it double the cost. And if we do, there's something seriously wrong with our infrastructure. Like, I know we need to invest, but that's like billions of dollars in one state long term as this thing happens. And if we're that far behind on infrastructure, then we got a problem.
A lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. And I know, like, if you look at TRP, they say that, I think Keefe and that group said it needs to be like $6 billion spent over the next 10 years to fix the current curbside system.
Wow.
And she's probably pretty close, and her team's probably pretty darn close on how much money needs to be invested. So let's make that commensurate in your EPR bills, unless we're just making a slush fund for the state to hit their budget at the end of the year, which I also worry about.
They do.
Talking about EPR bills.
Right. You mean, like, is the money coming in? Where's it going? Is
it guaranteed to go to infrastructure into the system? Is it not going to be pilfered when there's a shortfall in budget?
It should be a dedicated amount to certain things, but I'm not sure.
I haven't looked at the Oregon law. I don't know what's dictating where that money goes. DEQ, their Department of Environmental Quality, is in charge of it.
Mm-hmm. I will say they've been very amenable. Like, if you want to talk,
have, actually. Yeah.
I will say they've been one of the great ones too. Like, very easy to talk with and willing to talk if you have questions.
I think their fee structure is way out of whack, but I think the bill itself and the structure of it is okay. I just think the amount of money that they're pulling in for certain types of packaging, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's also the first foray into EPR in the U.S. So there's a lot of learning.
Yeah.
I think people are trying to reinvent the wheel when, if you just look at, was it the one in Quebec, I forget the pro's name in Quebec. It's like EEQ or something like that.
I don't remember.
They do a great job, whatever that's called. I'm sorry to the folks at the pro in
Well, Canada,
Quebec that I can't remember its name right now.
your
But
place to visit.
yeah, and they do a really good job up there.
They're very
And
good.
they're collecting all materials. They're not trying to ban anything. They're trying to solve for circularity. And that's what we need to do. Why can't we just do that? I just don't know. I get really frustrated with all this stuff. So
Takes a village.
I know. And so I'd like to get off my soapbox now for a little bit. And let's talk a little bit about the Plastics Industry Association. What do you do? Like, who would be a good fit to join plastics? Why does it make sense? And just kind of the spiel on what it is that,
Oh, the
that
tea?
plastics does.
We do represent the entire supply chain in the plastic space. And we put on unbelievable trade shows.
Yes, you do.
Multiple-
NPE. Yeah.
We do NPE, which is, I believe it's the third largest trade show in North America. And that is fantastic. Always a great. I attended it last year. It was my 4th day at Plastics, and I rolled up to that conference, and it was a sight to see. Let me tell you.
It really is.
And then we also
Massive.
we do the National Plastics Conference, which is coming up in Orlando in September. Justin, I hope to see you there.
Yeah.
I know it's not
Budget cuts.
not your jam.
I can't even go to the things I've already paid for.
We could go to Epcot. I mean, we can do. There's many things we could do.
I would love that, but I will not be partaking.
Yeah. So I mean, again, like, we try to be the voice of the plastic space for any and all in the paradigm here in America, and we're happy to do it. And we're great. I feel like I love my colleagues. I love where I work. I'm in a really happy place. So I welcome anyone to look us up or give us a shout.
Yeah. And then you do excellent work in supporting Polystyrene Recycling Alliance and the industry as a whole, the association as a whole, like from a marketing perspective, communications, all of that. We've been very, very happy with how that process has gone.
Oh,
and
good.
we're very excited to see where we go next and how we can continue to increase the circularity of polystyrene in North America. So Mexico, US, and Canada. And we need more people.
Right.
So if you are in the polystyrene industry and you are not involved and you care about what happens to your products going forward, let's get involved. Let's make our products more circular. Let's put real money and action behind it and make it work. This conversation went a much different direction than I thought, because I got real passionate about
you were fired up.
recycling and people's virtue signaling. And I need to get better at that. We got to stay on task here.
Well, I can help you with that. And we, if we do more state house fly-ins, meetings with lawmakers, I think you should attend and welcome any contemporaries or colleagues that want to join us. Happy to have you.
Yeah. I love nothing more than spending time with state legislators.
They're great.
Yeah. It is not frustrating at all. It's really fun. And I would recommend it to anyone. 10 stars, no notes, whatever people say now.
Every meeting is an opportunity, and that is the message I could convey to you: is you never know when you in that meeting, so you got to just stay positive and go in with the facts.
Like I said, when we first started that whole process on the EPS foam food service ban effort in Illinois, there's not a chance on God's green earth that we're going to defeat this. Cooler heads prevailed. And I was proven wrong for one of 1,000 times this year already.
We'll be back again next year.
Oh, they will. We got to keep fighting. We got to keep fighting for all of those jobs in the state of Illinois that are making those packages, making those products. And honestly, if you move from us to something else, it's just more plastic.
Yeah.
And more plastic that's not getting recycled. I hate to say. I would love for it to be recycled more, and that's what we're doing. We're putting our money into it to make it happen. So really appreciate you being on. We've been trying to put this together for a long time. Time flew by. We're already at an hour. Anything else from your perspective that you really wanted to add? Anything that you've been burning on that we haven't talked about that you want to cover?
No, this has been a great conversation, and I appreciate the time.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much, and your support of the day job. So
That
long may it continue. And for Erin, this is Justin Riney of the Redefining Plastics Podcast. Thank y'all so much. Have a great night. You want to learn more about the plastics industry, recycling, check out these other videos, please like and subscribe.